All right, let's go ahead and have a seat and we'll get centered in, kind of check in with ourselves this morning, our bodies, our minds, all of that good stuff. So find your comfortable, steady seat, your asana, and make sure that your spine feels aligned, your shoulders are relaxed, your jaw is relaxed. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, close your eyes. And then just take a big, deep, nourishing inhale through your nose. And a big sigh through your mouth. Just kind of take a moment to really feel into your body. It's so easy for us to stay disconnected from what's going on downstream of the head. We get really caught up in our thoughts. So let's just take a moment and leave our thoughts where they are and move downstream and really feel the body today. Start breathing a little slower, a little deeper. If you are comfortable with ujjayi breathing, that's preferable. And then we just notice the mind stuff. We also notice any emotions that we're feeling. And we check in with our energy. And then let's set our own personal intentions for practice this morning. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. Be very clear about what you need from your practice today, and then simply allow yourself to receive it. When you're very clear, take one more deep breath in. Exhale. Good. From here, we're going to go ahead and just transition straight into downward facing dog. If you need to pedal the feet a little bit or kind of ease into it, do that. Any movements right now are fine. And then start to reach those hips back. Start to lengthen your spine. You can slowly walk your feet forward, keeping your knees bent, coming into your ragdoll, making sure your neck is totally relaxed. And then on your next inhale, reach your arms all the way up and overhead. And as you exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. Inhale, reach the arms up, stretch. And as you exhale, fold forward, hinging at your hips, standing forward bend. Inhale and look up halfway. And exhale back down. We're going to step back to the left foot. Hold your lunge for a moment. And go ahead and rotate right hands up towards the ceiling. And then bring the right hand down, drop onto your left knee, and put your right hand on the inside of the right knee. Roll to the outside edge of that right foot before you begin to apply a little bit of pressure to that right inner thigh. So we're trying to feel some inner thigh, outer hip sensation. One more breath here. Go ahead and let your right leg extend now. Flex the ankle and toes. Pull the chest forward. You should feel this in your right hamstring. Then we're going to bend the right knee, bring the arms up and overhead. Pelvis tilts back very strongly. So you want to actually tighten the muscles at the base of your left buttock and then let the hips move forward, keeping your rib cage lifted, making sure that you're feeling this on the front of your left hip. Go ahead and bring the hands down. Step back to plank position. Hold your plank for a moment. We want the core engaged always. And so this first time down, we'll modify knees, chest, and chin. Untuck the toes, come into a nice low cobra. So I want you to push your pubic bone into the mat and pull the heart forward. You should feel a little bit of this on the front of the hips, as well as opening up your heart. And then downward facing dog. Now on this down dog, really press through your palms, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then take a big step forward with your left foot. Hold your lunge for a couple of breaths. And then we'll go ahead and take the left hand up towards the ceiling. Bring that left hand down, drop the right knee down. Left hand goes to the inside of the left knee. You're going to roll to the outside edge of that left foot and apply a little bit of pressure to that inner left thigh. So we're trying to feel sensation again, left inner thigh and left outer hip. And then we're going to fully extend the left leg, flex the ankle and toes, and pull the heart forward so that we can get into that left hamstring. And then bend your left knee, bring the arms up and overhead. Pelvis strongly tilts back. You can think of that as tucking the tailbone under. The rib cage is lifting and your hips are moving forward so that you're feeling it on the front of the hips. It's fine to feel it in the chest and the front of the shoulders as well, but you really want to get into that right hip flexor. And then we're going to bring the hands down and step forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. And as you exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. And exhale, back down. This time, step back with your right foot. Nice big step back. Bring your left hand to the inside of your left foot. Feel free to drop your right knee down if that works better for you. We're going to come onto the right forearm and then the left, maybe. If you need to use a block here, go for it. Take another breath here. And then walk your left foot over to the left and rotate the left foot out a little bit. This is going to feel quite different from the first position. It's a different emphasis in the muscles. So when our leg is perfectly aligned with our glute and we're very linear, we're getting it primarily in the glute. When you let your leg move out and externally rotate, then you start getting it in the outer hip, which causes an inner thigh release. Go ahead and come back up onto your hands. Step straight back to plank. Hold your plank for a moment. And then take the vinyasa of your choice and be really mindful in your cobra or sphinx or upward facing dog of letting the front of the hips open. And then from here, we'll step the right foot forward. And bring the right hand to the inside of the right foot. Remember, you can drop your left knee if you like. So left forearm comes down, and you can always use a block if you need to. Maybe the right forearm comes down. So right now, your right thigh is aligned with your right glute. Your knee is over your foot. Everything's hugged in towards your torso. This is one position. Then we're gonna walk the foot to the right side of the mat and let the foot splay out slightly. This will feel quite different. This is your second position. Different emphasis. This one should be tightening the outer hip and opening the inner thigh. Come back up onto your hands, step forward to your standing forward bend. Inhale, arms, you're gonna reach up and overhead. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, back down. Step back with your left foot, spin the heel flat, and come up into warrior two. So I want you to take your left hand on your left thigh, right arm reaches up and over, reverse your warrior. Come back up, straighten your right leg. Hips kick to the left. We're lengthening out to the right, getting a nice, strong triangle this morning. Spine is lengthening, but also be very mindful of right inner thigh. You're gonna come back up into your warrior two. Now, from here, we're simply gonna rotate onto the left toes and bring the arms up and overhead. Nice high lunge. Try and tuck your tailbone under and lift the chest and allow the hips to drop a little bit. Breathe. Spin the heel flat again, come back into your warrior two. Scoot your right foot quite a bit farther forward. You're gonna feel very deep. And then straighten the right leg because that's exactly what's happening. We're deepening the triangle, extending it out. Reach through the right arm and find your extra long, extra deep triangle this morning. Bring that left hand down. Take a moment, lengthen over your right leg. Step it back to plank position and take your Vinyasa. From this downward facing dog, we step the left foot forward, spin the right foot flat, and come into warrior two. Take your right hand to your right thigh, reverse your warrior, left arm reaches up and over. Come back up. Straighten your left leg, kick your hips to the right, lengthen out, triangle pose. You want to make sure you're really feeling a nice straight left leg and left side of the spine. So we want to feel it in that left inner thigh. You're going to come back up into your warrior two. All we're going to do is swivel onto the right toes, bring the arms up and overhead, tuck the tailbone under, lift the chest, and sink the hips. Getting into that right front hip flexor. Spin your right heel flat again, come back into warrior two, scoot your left foot forward, way out there. It's gonna feel very deep, and then straighten your left leg. Extend your triangle. So nice, deep, long, wide triangle pose this morning. Hello, left inner thigh. Good, and then from here, we're gonna just take that left hand down for a moment, lengthen over the left leg. Step back, plank position, flow through a vinyasa. From this downward facing dog, you can either walk or jump forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Turn sideways, take a nice wide side step. Make sure that your toes, or both sets of toes, are pointing forward this morning. So your feet are parallel. You're gonna hinge at your hips. You can either grab your elbows and relax the neck, or you can put your hands on the floor, or you can put your elbows on the floor. Just take a couple of breaths here. Slightly bend that right knee. Let your body weight move towards the right a little bit. Keep your left foot really flat. So you're gonna feel a gentle left inner thigh stretch. Straighten the right knee, bend the left one. Let your body weight shift a little to the left. Same thing here. We're just trying to get a nice gentle right inner thigh stretch. Come back to the center. Take the feet wider. And take a couple of breaths here. So if you have knee issues, you're going to modify. You might even stay here. If you can, we'll come down onto one knee and immediately bring the foot behind it, keeping legs as far apart as possible. So we're moving into Bakasana, frog pose. And the idea here is that you're not actually on your kneecap, you're on the inner part of the thigh, so there's no pressure on the knee. You're gonna stay on your forearms, make sure your lower legs are parallel and your feet are flexed like little froggy feet. And you push your bum back towards your heels. Yeah, this can be a screamer for some of us, right? So be mindful. Intensity is fine, pain is not. If this hurts your knees, do not do it. If it's just super intense in the inner thigh and groin, then you're doing a great job and you breathe. We're just here for a few more breaths. It will be over soon. From here, we're just gonna bring the knees back together. Reorient yourself on the mat. Take a well-deserved child's pose. That will shorten out everything that just got opened up. And then from your child's pose, go ahead and transition into plank and we'll take a vinyasa. Really lengthen out in your down dog. So we're going to step forward with the right foot, spin the left heel flat, come back up into our warrior two. And again, I'd like you to reverse your warrior. Left hand, left thigh, right arm up and over. Come on back up, warrior two. Now this time we're going to transition into a half moon. If you need to use a block or a table or something to stabilize yourself, that's fine. But I'd like you to go ahead and get right hand down, left leg up if you can, if possible, left hand towards the ceiling. Only as much as your body allows. Try and get your right leg, your standing leg to straighten, and the left leg, and lift it. So inner thigh happening again, right? One more breath here. Now listen, as you put your left foot down, I want you to come into a high lunge. Tuck the tailbone, lift the chest. We're going to transition this into dancer. So all you're going to do is reach back with your left hand for your left foot. Tuck the tailbone, lift the chest, press the leg back, and find your Untitled Chapter this morning. Left foot goes back down where you got it, high lunge. Hands to the mat and take your vinyasa. From this downward facing dog, left foot steps forward, right foot flat, warrior two. And again, we reverse the warrior, right hand on the right thigh, left arm up and over. Come back up into your warrior two. We transition into half moon, left hand to the ground, right leg lifts. So if you can, your right hand reaches for the ceiling. You're trying to get your left leg, your standing leg straight. You're trying to get your right leg straight and stretch. Get some inner thigh stretch here. Now listen, as you put your right foot down, put it down for a high lunge. And then from here, we're just going to transition into dancer. So you're going to lift off, grab your right foot with your right hand, tilt your pelvis back, find your pose this morning. We're going to put the right foot back down where we got it, high lunge. Good, and then take your hands to the mat. Let's take a vinyasa. So you're going to drop down to your knees now. And I'd like you to come up to kneeling. The first thing we're going to do is a camel pose. So depending upon your back, we're doing this for hip flexors, right? So if you have a tweaky back, you're going to keep your hands on your sacrum. It's enough. We're just trying to open up the front of the hips. If you know your back likes this, you're more than welcome to either turn toes under and reach for the heels, or keep them flat and reach for the heels. But more than heart opening, I want a hip opening. So you want to very strongly tilt your pelvis back. Your pubic bone pushes forward. The hips push forward. You can keep your hands on your low back, but keep that pelvis tilted. Chest is lifting, and you begin to arch back. Now you just keep the hips moving forward. I want you to focus on hip flexor stretch, which means your glutes are pretty tight. Now, if you want, you can reach back for your heels. But keep the emphasis on the front of the hips. Come on up from that, remain in a kneeling position. I'm just going to turn around here. And I'd like you to take your right leg out to the right. That way I'm not mirroring you. Have your foot flat. Right hand on the right thigh, left arm up and over for locked gate, Bakasana. Now, come back up from that and take your right foot farther out. Keep the foot flat with the toes pointing forward. I'm just going to ask you to get more inner thigh. So normally we do with this, in this case, it would be our left thigh would be vertical. I'm asking you to go farther and then stretch again. You're going to start to feel this in your right inner thigh as well as left rib cage. Take one more breath. Point your right toes at the ceiling, left hand to the ground, right arm up and over, and just see if you can slide your right heel a little farther. You should be very deep inner thigh as well as rib cage. Take one more breath. Nice job. Tuck your right knee back underneath you. Come up to kneeling. Now we take the left leg to the left. And we keep that foot flat. Right arm up and over. So locked gate posture. Slide your left foot out a little bit. So now we're getting a little bit of inner thigh. Come on back up. Point your left toes at the ceiling. Maybe slide your leg farther. Right hand to the ground, left arm up and over. And if you've got more to go, slide that left leg out even more. Good. Go ahead and tuck your left leg back underneath you. Hands and knees, wag your tail if you need to, and then step it back to plank. Let's take our vinyasa. So from this downward facing dog, we're going to be moving into downward facing scorpion. Just that, nothing else. You're not going anywhere from here. So what I'd like you to do, we're going to take the right leg up in the air. We're going to bend the right knee, tuck the tailbone under, and start rolling your right hip towards the ceiling. Keep your pelvis tilted back, which means right now, your right outer hip and glute are pretty tight. Gravity's helping us. We're going to take 2 more breaths. Bring that right leg back down, full on down dog. And then take the left leg up. Bend your knee, roll your hip bone open, tuck your tailbone strongly. Pelvis is tilting back. So right now, your left outer hip and your left buttock are pretty tight. Bring that left leg back down, downward facing dog. And then walk or jump your feet forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, palms together. Turn sideways one more time. And go ahead and make sure your feet are parallel, but go as wide as you can. Not going back into frog, you're safe. But I'd like you to go ahead and get your feet really wide, your capacity. Hinge at your hips and come back down again. So maybe you're on blocks, maybe your hands are on the floor, maybe your elbows are on the floor. Take a couple breaths, go as wide as you comfortably can, but keep the entire sole of your foot grounded. We're here for 3 more breaths. Bring the feet back together. Come back up to the front of the mat. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, back down. You're going to step back to plank. And this time you're going to lower yourself all the way down to the ground. So we're going to play with true Bakasana, true frog pose. There are 2. The first one is true as well, but this one's a little more traditional. So I've been having some right knee issues, so you're going to have to ignore what my right side looks like. But what you would do is reach back. We're going to go one side at a time. You would grab your right foot with your right hand. And the idea is that you're trying to bring your right foot to the outer right hip, not to your bum, outside the hip. And so as you're doing this, you're tucking your tailbone. Now, I'm not pulling very much. Hopefully, you guys have your foot really close to your hip. And I'll show you on the left side. My apologies. I'm just having to modify and honor my body this morning. So you're really trying to tuck tailbone down and pull that right foot beside your right hip. Take one more breath. And then release. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you reach back to that left foot. And you're trying to bring it really close beside your left hip. Pubic bone is pressing into the mat. You should feel this on the front of your left hip. Release out. And now if you feel like you can, we're going for the full shebang. Remember, I'm going to be a wonky frog, so don't mind me. As much as possible, you're pulling your feet towards the outside edges of the hips. And then release down. From here, forearms onto the mat like you would for Sphinx. And you can go ahead and bring your big toes together and let your heels drop open. Take a moment and traction in Sphinx, but then we're actually going to use this for a final little front hip opener. So this time, you're going to let your toes and heels touch. Tuck your pelvis, which means you're pushing your pubic bone into the mat, and you're pulling, but you're really tightening your glutes, keeping the heels together. This is very different, right? Now you should feel it on the front of the hips. Take one more breath. And then release into your downward facing dog. Stretch it back. Lengthen out. And then from here, you can walk your feet forward and have a seat. Legs extended straight out in front of you. Once you find your sit bones and connect them down, just take a moment in Dandasana. Legs are active, chest is lifting, spine is straight. You're just checking in. And then we're going to go ahead and take the legs wide. Make sure you're still on your sit bones. You can have your hands behind you if you like, or they can be on your thighs or feet, or even in front of you. But I want you to be really mindful of this inner thigh stretch. So focus on tightening the outer hips, actively tightening the outer hips as you lengthen your spine forward. Keep feet active. Keep lengthening forward. We're here for 4 more breaths. We're letting gravity help us this morning. Slowly walk your hands back up. Now, bring your legs back together. I'm going to have us do a slightly different kind of front hip stretch. So you're going to have to kind of play with this to get into it. It's a gentle one. So what I'd like you to do, you can mirror me if you want, or just do it your way. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring both feet to one side with a little bit of space. So I'm taking my legs to the right. I've got my right inner knee on the ground with my right foot behind me. I've got my left foot kind of on top of that right thigh. So it's just like, you might sit like this if you were just hanging out on the floor doing something. Now, to get into this right front hip flexor, I'm going to lean back on my hands, not way back, but a little bit. I'm going to tuck my tailbone under, which means I'm going to push my pubic bone forward, and then I'm going to start lifting my right bun and pushing it forward really strongly, tucking the tailbone under until I feel this on the front of my right hip, right thigh, which I do right now. My right glute is very tight. Take 2 more breaths here, fine tune it, get there if you can. And then release your buns back down and simply switch your feet to the other side, whatever side that is for you. So the leg, that is the back leg, you want that inner knee down because you're going to press into that leg. Your other foot is kind of on top of the thigh. Your hands are behind you. You tuck the tailbone under really strongly, push your pubic bone forward, and then start to just push that left hip forward. You don't have to lift way up off the ground. Left glute is very tight. Left front hip is opening. Might take a little fine tuning, but you should be able to get a great inner thigh stretch here, as well as front hip. Release out, extend your legs again, give them a good wiggle. And then we're going to keep the right leg straight. Bring your left foot to the inside of the right thigh. Just lean out over your right leg for a moment. So I want you to come back up from that. This is a subtle difference, but it'll make a big difference in your stretch. Your left leg is going to stay like it is. You're going to take your right leg out to the right. It looks similar, but it's very different. Now you're going to do a little bit of a side bend to the right. You can either put your hand on the floor, your hands can be on your right shin, you can get your right forearm to the floor, and you're going to take your left arm up and over, but I want you to flex your right foot. So it's kind of like the seated version of that locked gate posture. If you've got everything in place here, not only are you getting a left side stretch, but you're getting a right inner thigh stretch. Take one more breath. Now, as you come up, here's what I'd like you to do. Keep your legs like they are. So your right leg is out to the right. You're going to grab either your right foot or your right shin or even your pants if you need to. You're going to put your left hand on the ground, lift your right leg up and take it out to the right. Take one more breath. Big inner thigh stretch here, maybe a little hamstring. So in other words, your leg is out to the right, not in front of you like heron. Now you can bring it around as though it were heron and put the right leg back down. Pick your left knee up. Move into a nice deep twist to the left. Just take a moment to unwind. Straight spine. Look over that left shoulder. And come back to the front, extend your left leg. So we're going to keep left leg straight. Bring your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. Just lean out over your left leg. And then come on up from that. Looks similar, but feels very different. Left leg moves way out to the left. We do that little side bend move. So your left hand can be on your shin, your foot, the floor, wherever you want it. Right arm reaches up and over. And so again, if you keep your left foot really active and your left leg straight, not only are you getting a right side stretch, but you're getting a left inner thigh stretch. Take a couple breaths. Now, as you come back up, whatever you're grabbing with your left hand, keep it there. Right hand comes to the floor for balance. Left leg comes up, but it's out to the left. So we don't want it in front of us like heron. We want it out to the sides. We get that outer hip contraction, inner thigh stretch. Now you can bring it around to the front like you would for heron. Put the leg down, pick your right knee up, and do your little twist to the right. So you can either hug the right knee or bring left elbow outside of it. Spine is straight. You're twisting to look over your right shoulder. And rotate back around. Extend both legs. Give yourself a little wiggle. All right, now as we prepare to lie down, we're going to be on our side. We're going to do one more like inner thigh stretch. So as you come on to your mat, I would like for you to lie on your right side. I suggest you bend your right knee a little bit. That'll make you more stable. You can stay propped up on your right forearm, or you can come down onto like the right armpit. It's up to you. What I'd like for you to do is yet again, grab either left thigh or pants, left shin, or left foot. We're going to extend the left leg up, but we want this to be lateral. So I don't want you to roll on your back and have it like a front stretch. You're trying to stay on your right side and pull that left leg out to the side. Now, once you kind of get all that, tuck your tailbone under. You should kind of have a whole lot going on here. Take one more breath. Good. And then you can just transition to the other side. So roll onto your left side. Remember, you can be propped up on the forearm or you can be on your armpit. Left leg is bent. That helps you with your balance. Your right leg. Grab whatever you can reach and try and get your leg straight. and then make it lateral. So once I grab my leg right here, I'm kind of at an angle. I'm going to actually start pulling my right leg back towards the wall behind me and pushing my pubic bone forward, trying to make this a much more lateral move. And once I get all that, wow, there's a lot happening. Take a couple more breaths. And release. You may now roll onto your back, hug your knees into your chest, and rock side to side. From here, we're going to plant our feet and prepare to come into bridge pose. Now, here's what I'd like you to do today that's a little different because we're really focusing on the front of the hips. About 99% of the time, I like you to have your big toes touching and your heels separate. Well, surprise, we're not doing that today. Let your toes be the same distance apart as your heels. In other words, your feet are perfectly parallel, fairly close together. Before you lift up, I want you to tuck your tailbone under. So I actually want you to take the curve out of your spine, right? Push your pubic bone up towards the ceiling. Keep that. Tighten your buns and lift. And then really push through your feet. Keep squeezing your buns. Keep your knees the same distance apart. Keep pushing through your heels, squeezing your buns, lifting, lifting, lifting until you feel the front of your hip bones. You really should feel this front hip opening. Squeeze your glutes. Thighs and feet are all the same distance apart. Keep breathing. And lower back down. Hug your knees in. That should have been pretty exciting. Doesn't look like much, but boy, it is. And then we're just going to do a little inner thigh stretch from a supported shoulder stand. So even if you can't do shoulder stand, if you can get your hips into your hands, you're fine. And if you can't do that, you can put your hips on a block and still do the leg positions. So as much as you can, you just hike your legs up. Maybe you put your hips on a block. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then just let the legs drop open into a nice wide V. Legs are straight, feet are flexed. So gravity helps us here. We take a couple breaths. And then you can bring the soles of the feet together and press the knees away from each other, kind of like Bakasana, bound angle. If you can, you start letting the feet drop down towards the floor. You'll have to support your hips. You'll get this in the front of the hips, and then you can just let the feet land and come on down. Knees are going to stay bent. Feet are wider than the mat. Drop your knees to the right. So usually we just do this and we just kind of relax and get that left outer hip stretch. You remember when we were seated, we did a little funny version of this. So with your legs dropped to the right, keep your right foot on the ground, tuck your tailbone under and push your pubic bone to the right, tightening your left glute and see if you can get this on the front of your left hip, left thigh. I'm guessing you can. Take one more breath. And then relax, bring the knees up, drop them over to the left. Tuck your tailbone under, really tighten your right buttock and push your right hip bone or your pubic bone forward until you feel this on the front of your right hip. Come back up, bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees drop open. Arms are going to come up and overhead. So they're on the floor over your head. Interlace your fingers except for your index fingers. Press through your fingertips as you press your knees down towards the ground. And while you're doing that, kind of tuck your tailbone under. Be gentle here. This is a pretty intense inner thigh opener if you're doing this correctly. Your outer hips are really, really contracting and clenching, causing that inner thigh release. Relax, unwind your arms, bring your hands down, take a big inhale, flatten your back. And then exhale and release. Do that one more time, inhale, flatten your back. Exhale and release. Bring the knees back up together so they're pointing at the ceiling. Do a couple of little gentle hip rolls. Just letting your knees drop side to side. As your knees come back to the center, pick the feet up just a little bit, and as you exhale, drop your knees over to the right. Let your left arm open out to the left. Just a few breaths and a gentle twist here. On your next inhale, just bring the knees all the way back up. As you exhale, drop them over to the left. Right arm opens out to the right. Bring your legs back up. Give the knees a good squeeze. Reach down, grab your feet, and happy baby. Just any movements that you want to do. So you can just kind of test. Inner thighs should feel pretty open. Hip flexors should feel pretty open. Everything in your lower body should feel nice and awake. And quite frankly, your upper body should too. You've done a lot of nice side bending moves. Take a couple more breaths. And then as you're ready, you can just allow the feet to come down and begin to extend. So you're finding your way into Shavasana. Legs are separating. You might want to do that little inner outer roll. Pardon me, and then just let the legs flop. Make sure now that you're moving to Shavasana that your glutes, your buns are totally relaxed. Lengthen your spine, lengthen your neck, relax your shoulders, let your palms face up towards the ceiling. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, close your eyes. And then just take a really big inhale through the nose. And sigh your breath out your mouth, sighing out any remaining tension. And just allowing everything to relax and soften. Take a moment to actually feel your body releasing. Notice your breath letting go along with your body. So you just wind up with this super soft, sweet, gentle breath. And then I'd like you to just take a moment and kind of review your practice today. So we used some subtle movements and fine-tuning, little tweaks to make the poses feel different or more effective. Things such as tucking the tailbone under or tightening a glute to get a little deeper into a front hip flexor, etc. These small, subtle changes can have really huge effects. The same is true for our thoughts and our mind. Little subtle shifts in how we think can have really huge effects. So I'm going to challenge you for these next few minutes of Shavasana to simply watch your thoughts and see what you might be able to shift shift or change for a huge effect. Maybe using positive phrasing instead of negative. Maybe catching yourself in an old thought pattern and stopping it in its tracks. Maybe simply shifting your perspective to gratitude. Just some ideas, but play with these subtle things that you can change in your mind to have really large effects. Stay with it, stay with your thoughts, noticing them, watching them, seeing what might be working beautifully and what you might alter, however subtly, to make a positive change. So just beginning to feel back into your body, beginning to notice not only the parts of the body that you emphasized in your practice this morning, which was front of the hips and inner thighs, but noticing your whole body. What happens when we open and allow the energy to run? How big are these subtle movements? And then start to deepen the breath and move the fingers and toes while you're checking in with your thoughts again. How does that feel? How did that affect your emotions and your energy? On your next deep breath in, spread your fingers and toes. Exhale to your mouth and relax them. Deeper breath in, stretch, stretch, stretch. And exhale and relax. Bend your knees. Feel free to hug them in if that's good for you. And then go ahead and roll to your right side. And just come to a nice, easy seated position. So as you find your happy, straight spine, just take a moment to get aligned. Relax the shoulders. Relax your jaw. Close the eyes again if you've not kept them closed. And just take one more opportunity to really check in. How does the body feel? So today we're going to do a very simple breath. We're going to put the left hand at the center of the heart and the right hand at the center of the abdomen or solar plexus region. Again, playing with subtleties. This hand position is a very self-nurturing, self-loving, self-protecting hand position. It's subtle energetically, but it can have quite profound effects. As you're breathing, all I want you to do is breathe really slow, deep ujjayi breaths into the abdomen so that you feel your right hand. And then just slowly breathe them back out, making them as long as possible. No particular ratio, nothing weird with the breath. You're just inhaling and exhaling through the nose, but you're trying to do deep, slow abdominal ujjayi breaths. As you finish out your next breath, just allow the palms to come together in front of the heart. Allow your breathing to be normal. Take one final opportunity to check in with your body, your breath, your mind, your heart, your energy, your sense of connection, the intention that you set this morning, all of it, your entire practice. And then let all of that go, offer it all up. It's done. It's complete. And now you move forward into your day. Take a moment in gratitude for the opportunity to move forward into your day, that you have another day to move into. What a blessing. Take one more huge inhale through the nose. Big happy sigh. We bring our palms together in front of our foreheads because it's just a reminder to be present, to stay aware. We bring our palms together in front of our mouths, and it's just a reminder to speak our truth. We bring our palms together in front of our hearts, and this is just a reminder to keep our hearts open, to be open so that we can both give and receive love, kindness, and compassion. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Namaste.